Find out what's going on. Get involved. Change things from the inside. Make a difference. Take pride. Multicultural at its best. The Louisa Marshall Show. Coming up.
Today, all new Simply the Best Season 7 finale. On the road, raising PTSD awareness from coast to coast. In St. John's, Newfoundland, we encountered the soldier and his story of courage and survival. Jamie Macwhirter was born and raised in Corner Brook, Newfoundland. At age 17, he joined the Army as an infantryman for 8 years. Then he was transferred as a trucker posted in Edmonton in 2004. In 2006, he served his country as a trucker in Afghanistan, returned to Canada, and was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder in 2008. Coping up with his life, he wrote a book in 2011 about his tour in Afghanistan and his experiences with PTSD. He went on a tour to spread PTSD awareness and helping people with PTSD by founding PTSD Buddies. Today, he's proud to release his second book, plus special highlights of our trip to Newfoundland. All these coming up. Hello, hello, hello. This is a special show. We did it. We made it to Newfoundland, raising PTSD awareness, reaching the furthest eastern point in Canada and the whole of North America.
There's the Republic of Dollhouse right there. Just picture up there and all lines. It's all about
We're in St. John's. This is the furthest, right? The furthest one. I believe, Jamie. But holy, this is the furthest one, and it's cold. Really cold in June.
June the 5th today.
See her in the fog, look.
Oh, there's Kim over there.
You can see her in the fog, look.
Oh, look at Kimmy, right there.
The people of Newfoundland, also known as Newfies, are very, very friendly. They're hospitable and very funny. They speak really fast, so you really have to listen.
We'll just say half of it. Long may a big jib jaw. Go. That's 2 shots.
Experiencing 4 seasons in a day is mind-blowing. We'll share some highlights of our trip in Newfoundland.
The water.
We look way up there.
We met Jamie and his wife Vanessa during our show in St. John's. I'm proud to interview a courageous soldier to share his inner thoughts on his battle with PTSD, what he's doing to help others. Please watch.
But in 2008, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. What worked for me, I consider myself a PTSD survivor. I think I haven't beat it, but I've learned to deal with it. And what worked for me was this woman back here, my wife Vanessa, and my kids.
We're in St. John's. I am so excited to talk to this lad, to this fellow who has been doing a lot of PTSD awareness all over the country and all over the world. Jamie.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Now that you're here,
I know we did it.
we did it.
did
Well, I
it.
didn't do it, you did it.
No, we did it together.
Yeah?
You've been so active on your Facebook promoting the show. How are you now?
I am in a better place than I was 10 years ago, by far. I was diagnosed in 2008 after spending some time in Afghanistan, and I went from hiding in my basement from the world to standing on stage telling my story. So, I mean, I did it to a total of 180, I guess. But for me, it's almost like I learned to be me again by, the way I describe it is, it's almost like when you learn to swim and you get thrown over the boat and then learn to swim or drown. I mean, I had fear of crowds, but I got pushed up on stage in front of crowds, you know?
Yes.
So, I mean, it was sink or swim. And I don't know, maybe you can understand this better than anybody. I'm almost addicted to it now. Like I can't wait to get on stage.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's the sharing the story part. I think it's the afterwards, and you get off the stage and you're just talking with people, and they're so open to share their stories with you. They don't want to do it in the audience. They don't want to raise your hand or anything to ask a question. But when it's over and they come and talk to you and they share stories, and you can relate to every one of these stories. I mean, there was a time I felt so alone, and now I know I'm not alone. I mean, I run PTSD Buddies that has 1,700 members just in one group. And I love it because if anyone has PTSD, they know it's hard to go to public places, right? It's hard to be in a crowd. With PTSD Buddies, they don't have to leave their bedroom if they don't want to. Now, we encourage it.
You encourage it, you don't force them.
But no.
That's amazing. The encouragement that you have put out there, it's almost like you are being really subtle about it, but when you talk about it, you are just right there.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
I love talking about it.
Yes. So the message, is it getting across a lot of PTSD sufferers, especially in the Canadian military?
I think it is. At one point, it was hush-hush. I mean, let's face it, this is PTSD has been around since the beginning of time.
Yes.
World War I, we just had a different name. We called it shell shock. World War II, what we called it? I think it was battle fatigue was another word to use. Now we're calling it PTSD. It's always been there, right? And you don't have to be a veteran or a police officer or
First responders.
Yeah, you don't have to be that to get
paramedics.
PTSD. The number one cause, like everyone, first thing to compare to, PTSD. Oh, are you a veteran? Did you serve? No. The number one cause of PTSD is abuse. I think, right? Everyone forgets that. The number one reason, as far as I know, is child abuse. Yeah. I mean, and by a long shot, right? I mean, and with PTSD Buddies, our motto is no judging, just understanding. So we don't care about how you got PTSD. We just want to teach you how to learn to live with it. And that's what we're doing. And it's working. And the reason why I think it's working is because there's 1,700 people who are dealing with it, right? They all have their own experiences and they all have their own tips. And we share these tips. And because it's all around the world, there's always somebody awake. So if you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you're having a panic attack, put it on PTSD Buddies, having a panic attack. Within minutes, you're going to get somebody to talk to. And they'll relate, they'll understand, right? It's amazing. It's almost addicting itself. I do have members who, oh my God, Jamie, I got to check it like every day just to see how
they are.
Yeah, and they all have group chats and they all talk, and then after so many members from Australia joined the group, well, we had to create a PTSD Buddies Australia.
Wow.
Right?
Shifting
Yeah.
from your PTSD to saving and helping others who are undergoing PTSD. That's probably what's going on with you, and that's why you are learning how to deal with it more effectively.
Yeah, that's what's helping me be me again.
Exactly.
By helping others.
Yeah.
Because I've been there. I know what they're going through. I'll tell you a story for this. When I first got home from Afghanistan, I went to the grocery store. I wanted to get Canadian food, I guess you say. I've been tired of eating in rations. And I remember going up and down the aisles, picking out the food I liked. And when I got to the checkout, there was a lot of people there. And the crowd never bothered me before. I love being in a crowd. But for some reason, my heart started to pound really fast. And then I couldn't breathe. And I lost consciousness and I passed out. I fell into the cereal aisle, right into some honeycomb cereal. All right? Good thing I wasn't in the can aisle or the frozen food. I probably would have been hurt, especially with my big head. But being a soldier, and I'm sure cops, firefighters will agree, I'm the tough guy and I can't show weakness. That's something that's pushed into a soldier's head, don't show weakness, soldier on. So when I felt vulnerable and my pride was hurt in front of all these people, I just got up and I ran out. Went back to my house. I lived alone at the time. I wasn't married or anything. Vanessa, who's my wife now, was my girlfriend. I locked the doors, I turned out the lights, I closed the blinds, and I hid away from the world because I knew something was wrong. And I didn't know what was wrong. I thought I had a heart attack. And so I hid it. People would come to my door, knock on my door. I would sneak up and peek, but I was terrified. 2 weeks. And there were times that I would be up at 3 o'clock in the morning, sitting in my basement. I wouldn't have the TV on, I wouldn't have the radio on, I wouldn't even have the lights on. Just sitting in the darkness, terrified. What's wrong, right? And then you go to sleep and you have a nightmare. So then you don't really want to sleep. So I did that for a few weeks until my girlfriend, who's my wife now, she tricked me to go outside again. And if there's a spouse out there who's listening to this, who has, someone who has PTSD and won't go outside, this is what my wife did. My wife would trick me to go outside, but she made me think that I was doing something for her. And what I mean by that is an example. She would say something like, Jamie, we're out of milk in the house, but I'm too tired to drive. So could you drive with me and we go together? I didn't want to, but I felt like I was doing it for her. She was the most important person in my life, right? So she tricked me and got me to go outside again, right?
Were you scared to go out? Like at that moment when she asked you to go out?
For me, it was going into the building, going into the grocery store. Mm-hmm. I found this out. For most first responders, the first time they have a panic attack is in a grocery store. And I've asked doctors and I've asked other first responders, do you know why? Nobody knows why. But there's something about a grocery store that they have panic attacks.
Triggers
and
something.
It was my first panic attack, right?
Really?
Yeah. But, my wife, she tricked me. She got me outside again. She even got me on a flight to go back to Newfoundland.
Oh.
You see, she thought that was going to be what would help me, is get me around my family again. I agree with her. I thought it was too. And she did get me to go to Newfoundland, but God love my family. They didn't know what PTSD was, so they were expecting Jamie Macwhirter to come home again. And I wasn't the same person. So going back to Newfoundland blew up in my face. It ended with a lot of arguing, a lot of shouting back and forth, to the point where I got back on the flight and said, I'm never coming home again. Jamie is dead to you. I said that to my family.
Your family didn't understand what you were going to?
No. I came back to Edmonton, that's where I was posted to at the time, and saying, I'm never going back to Newfoundland again, right? And God loved my parents and my family. They knew something was wrong and they contacted the military, the recruiting center in Corner Brook, and the recruiting center sent out a person to explain a bit more about what PTSD was, right? So, they did try to help. So I got nothing against the military in that aspect, but I felt like they didn't understand. So my family was out. My wife, my girlfriend, I couldn't explain it to her, right? So Vanessa really wanted me to talk to somebody at work, right? And so I said, all right, you know, at first I thought I could handle it myself. But when you have moments where you're grabbing somebody at a 7-Eleven and you're jumping out of your vehicle at a stoplight and running up and punching the windshield of the guy in front of you because he's driving too slow, I kept saying, no, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There was even a moment where like my son wanted me to play catch with him, and I was too upset, and I said, you know, you gotta wait till Dad is ready. And 1 hour turns to 3 hours until when you find him, he's sleeping holding a football, right? Yeah.
That must be too hard for your family.
But yeah, it is hard on the family.
Yeah, PTSD has really affected a lot of families, friends. So what do you say to them?
Well, I've realized now that the best thing that works, is surrounding yourself with people who understand. You can't hide it from your family. You can't hide it from your kids. Your kids are too smart. Kids are too smart these days with iPhones and everything else. My gosh, right?
You have 2 kids.
I have 2 boys, yeah.
You have 2 boys.
But I've learned that they are my PTSD buddies. I have a 7-year-old who I can go to the mall with. My son, or both of my sons, they know my PTSD. And they know PTSD, but they know my PTSD. And what I mean by that is, my son knows that I don't do well in crowds. My son knows I don't do well driving in traffic. My son knows I'm not allowed to watch military movies, right? There's certain things that can trigger Dad. So they help me. I spent a time at the mall, and at the mall I'm looking around at the people, and I'm looking to see who's the biggest threat, or I'm looking at the exits, or feeling like people are looking at me and judging me, right? And my wife could be talking to me and I don't hear it, but I've had moments from my kids or my wife see me like this, and when God love him, Cody is 7 years old. He'd take me by the hand and lead me into the bathroom. Just say, Dad, I gotta go to the bathroom, can you come with me? And just lead me to the bathroom. And then I'm gonna cry. He's there holding my hand and like going to do breathing exercises with me, right? But yeah, he's my reason why I'm beating this, right? He's smart enough, he's 7 years old, but he's smart enough to know what Dad needs, right? We also have a thing that we run in our house. I mean, there was a time I remember yelling at Cody and seeing the fear in his eyes, and I had to come up with a way to make it easier for him. I mean, he knows Dad's triggers, he knows Dad's cool downs or grounding points, but he has a safety word in our house, which is turn up. Nobody in our family likes turn up, okay? But if I started to yell at Cody and he gets fearful of that, he can say turn up, and I stop. Doesn't matter, because with PTSD, you can lose it, you can probably go on too long or whatever. I never want him to be scared. So this little safety word, it's funny, but it gives him control. It also helps me if I come home and I know I've had a bad day at work, I can come home and say, turn up. Kids, I don't have to explain what happened. I don't have to deal with anything. They know, just give Dad a few minutes and he'll come out when he's ready. It even works for my son. My son's come home, you know. How's it going, boys? No, Dad, turn up. Okay, yeah. Trying to Maple Leafs last again, turn up. I have a son who's, he's 14. I went into his school and gave a speech about PTSD. They had a problem there with bullies, right? So I went in there and I linked PTSD with bullying.
Yes.
Because I said, in Edmonton, I watched soldiers kill themselves because they felt, well, I shouldn't say because. One of the reasons they killed themselves is they felt bullied at times. I remember Vanessa wanted me to talk to somebody. So I went to work saying to myself, all right, I'm going to talk to somebody today. I got to. My family's, paying the price of this. So I went into work and we were going to go for a run that day. And I was in my exercise outfit. Sergeant Major walked out and he told everyone who's going for the run, get on one side of the room, and everyone who's on some kind of medical chit to go to the other side of the room. So I stood on the right side with everyone who's going for a run. And I watched these guys and girls who were, some are in crutches, some in canes, some in slings, and he made them pull out their medical chit and read it out loud. And then, you know, he kind of said, well, what, you got a bad back? Well, who doesn't have a bad back in the military? When are you going to be back to work? Oh, what, you got a bad wrist, do you? Yeah, whatever, you know. And he's belittling these people. And I'm over there to the side thinking to myself, you know, Vanessa wants me to talk to this guy or go and talk to somebody saying, yeah, I've been dealing with a bit of depression. I've had nightmares. How the heck do I do that when he's giving people with slings a hard time? So I don't, you know, or I hear about my friend who gets removed from the military or released because he has post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, you know, like I got 2 kids and a wife. I don't want to lose my job. So now I'm scared to go ask for help. I mean, so you don't get that warm, fuzzy feeling to go ask for help, right? And soldiers don't mean nothing by it, but soldiers are like, I like to think like cops or firefighters, we give each other a hard time, you know? And sure, sometimes it can get out of hand, but it's not, I don't want to call it bullying, but you know,
it is bullying.
It is bullying, you know, when you're scared to admit you have a problem and because of what everyone else is thinking, right?
Exactly.
So you hide it from that too.
Yes.
And I mean,
well, it's no more hiding for you now. You're doing well right now, but there are some days that you are out of it, like.
Or as you say in Newfoundland, not fit to talk to.
Well, what do you do?
Well, I'm still writing. I'm about to release my 2nd book.
Exactly. This is your first book.
That's the first one,
A
yeah.
Soldier's Tale, a Newfoundland Soldier in Afghanistan. How long have you served in Afghanistan?
I was there 7 months. For the most part, I drove a refueler, big truck with 10,000 liters of diesel. I was an MSC out, which is just a cool way to be, say you're a driver overseas, right? But the PVCLI were over there on my tour from Edmonton, infantry unit, and they couldn't go further enough into Taliban country because, well, they would run out of fuel in their tanks and everything. So they needed someone to drive a big truck with fuel into battle with them. So they would go down and clear villages or do, you know, their infantry stuff, and I would be in the background. And when everything was done, I would come in and fuel them up, right? But we were doing convoys every day, right? And in the book, it'll talk about how I got attacked a few times in that refueler. I even got hit with an RPG, a rocket-propelled grenade. But luckily, it hit the wheel well of the tire and blew my tire off. It didn't hit the actual tanker.
At that moment, what were you thinking?
Well, we knew exactly what we were going into. I did anyway. The military didn't lie. The people always want to know, why would you want to go to Afghanistan?
Exactly.
My answer to that is,
We will continue with Jamie and Newfoundland.
The water.
This
We look way up there.